Hey Guitar Champion, what's going on? I'm 𝗎𝙗𝙦𝗦𝗧𝙐𝗏 back from my practice cave and welcome to today's video and today's interview. Because today I have a really special person on this YouTube channel, none other than guitar prodigy, the ultimate guitar soldier, Anton OPARIN. If you don't know who Anton OPARIN is, then definitely check out some of his videos. He was one of these kids back when Facebook and YouTube started that could play Scarified from 𝙗𝙤𝙦 at the age of 12 perfectly, and he is also a really great educator when it comes to technique in the right hand and the left hand, some new ideas, some new concepts on how to approach certain techniques, how to practice certain techniques. Really interesting YouTube channel, really interesting guitar player, really interesting person. I'm really glad to have him here for 1 hour. We talked about how he learned guitar, how he perfected certain guitar techniques in a really early age with being 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. But we also discussed some topics about technique in general, right hand technique, left hand technique. This was again really mind-blowing. Anton definitely knows his shit, so I won't stop bothering you anymore and I will start now with the interview. If you like this little interview, then feel free to subscribe. This is the best way how you can support this channel. And now let's open the doors for Anton OPARIN. So, hello Anton, hello, how you doing? Welcome to this show and to this little interview. I'm glad you are here.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Hello everyone, I hope you have a nice day. So, I'm here and it's a big honor for me. Thank you so much again, and let's start it.
Let's start this. Awesome. So first of all, I want to thank you, Anton, for your work on YouTube, because your video, does the universal guitar technique exist, has changed my point of view on how to practice and to play guitar entirely. I mean, I was laying desperate in bed after watching this video for 2 weeks because I was like, oh shit, there's so much to do, but I stopped crying at a certain point and start doing and working something, and my technique and my awareness about my technique evolved to another level. So this video changed me a lot, and I want everyone who is going to see this now to stop this interview first and watch the whole 2 hours of that video, because it is definitely worth it. So thank you for that before we begin. Yeah, as a little
thank you.
So
Thanks so much.
now, Anton, the first time where you kind of appeared in the guitar scene was when I remember clearly back in the day when some video appeared of you where you were like 13, 14 years old playing Scarified, 𝙗𝙤𝙦, and all these technical, amazing songs. So my first question for you is, what would you say, could you summon up the main reason why you were so much better than everyone else at that age on playing guitar? Could you imagine that there's a certain reason or a certain way you practice or something like that that other people didn't do? Or is it talent or magical bean that you swallow, or magical pill that you swallowed?
Well, I won't tell you about my drugs and pills. It's like compound V, right? From the boys series. Anyways, I would say that it's a combination of all things, and I think, well, in my teaching experience, and when I see a lot of different people, when they practice, when they start doing things, and they get questions and they find something new, I think a lot of change can be done with psychological, kind of point of view, because when we consider this practicing process, it has a lot to do with concentration. It has a lot to do with, understanding that you're doing something wrong. Because when people spend like month, 2 months, like have a year on something, and a lot of people, because they saw some information out there maybe on YouTube, maybe someone told them, and they spend a lot of time on doing those things, and they kind of they think that maybe if I don't get any results in like 2-3 months, maybe I will get them like in a year or two, and they continue doing the same things over and over and over again. And basically, you always have to keep yourself. Maybe it's a part of character. So I think people have to really understand what they're doing. They have to think about it all the time. If you don't progress for a month or two, and if nothing changes, maybe you have to change some things. Maybe your approach, maybe how much time you spend on it. Maybe you have to change your day schedule, and maybe you have to, because some people, for instance, some people, they lose the concentration after like 20-30 minutes, and maybe it would be better for them to work for 20-30 minutes and then like take a rest for 5-10 minutes and then work again. And some people just work and practice for a few hours straight, and they just lose the concentration after 5 minutes, and basically everything they practiced and everything they've done after those like 10-15 minutes is a waste of time. And I think it's maybe because, well, first off, of course, I was a child back then, and when you're a child, you remember things a little better, a little faster, like kids who remember the languages. For instance, if someone learns language when they're like 6 or 5, they learn languages a lot faster. Maybe that was the case, of course, but I would say that the approach that me and my dad used, and how we practiced, and all of that, and how smart we were trying to make every single thing in what we do, is basically, well, it's hard to find a person who would do the exact same thing. It's a really hard path, and a lot of people who want to play guitar, and especially if, of course, people's goals are different, and someone wants to play a few simple chords, and it's okay, and it's totally fine, of course. But for some people who want some like virtuoso level, so to speak, they kind of not really understand how much time it will take and how hard this path actually is. So they really underestimate a lot of details on that path, and they just avoid a lot of smart things they can do, and basically they end up maybe stopping playing guitar in a few years because they just understand that it's too hard for them, and it's maybe like Mike Tyson said once, if you want to be great in something, well, it's a dedication of your lifetime. So it's something that you will do the entire day, every month, and over again. And it's a really, really hard thing to do. So I think it was a combination, because my father was a sport coach, and he knew a lot about how sportsmen achieve things, and he knew that, well, basically you're either the first or you're the last, like in sport. So basically he did everything, and he tried to put every single aspect of my life to help me to get there, because I really liked it. I really loved it, and he knew that I loved playing guitar like a lot. When I was 6, first time friends of my family, they gifted my dad a guitar, acoustic guitar, Hochner, if I'm not mistaken, and I always looked at that guitar like when he went out of to work, and I was like, I want to play the guitar, I want to take it, and he saw that I love it, and since he was surprised that I'm ready to spend that much time on guitar playing because I loved it that much, and he just tried to kind of, with his experience and his knowledge and the friends he knew from sport, to kind of make that obsession of mine and that love, towards guitar, and kind of keep it on the correct path, so to speak, so that it would make a lot more sense, and it would so that all that work and all that time that I spent on guitar would actually give me the results that I want, and the freedom, so to speak, that I want.
There's one interesting thing that you said right in the beginning, is that so many people think they with hard work, or when they work hard, then they at a certain point achieve the result instead of trying to work smart. I mean, I'm the best example for that. I'm always the work hard and work smart kind of guy, because it's so easy to also to say, give it just a few more months and then it will work, or just 3 more months practicing this thing over and over, then it will work all of a sudden. But yeah, what I realized also through your video is like, wait a second, there are maybe certain things that are obstacles in my playing, and maybe I have to create a different awareness. And now my cat Ingvi is trying to...
Hello,
I mean,
everyone.
His name for a reason.
Say hi to the cat.
Yeah, and this is something that I always try also to educate nowadays, how important it is to create that awareness of your playing and what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. So that's...
I always liked the phrase of Steve Jobs, if I'm not mistaken, when he said that you don't have to work for 13 hours a day, you have to work with the brains.
Again, on paper, it is so easy to just say, okay, I only have 8 hours every day, and then one day I will finally get my result. And maybe this will happen, but it will be a way longer way instead of doing the smart way. So nowadays I'm trying to do it a little bit more smarter and not too hard, which makes life in general a little bit simpler sometimes.
Yes, and by the way, I think we should tell that and say it to the audience that someone might think right now that being like if doing things smart, then it will be easier. Not really. No, it's a combination of hard work and making things smart, but not like only doing things smart or only hard work. It doesn't work separately, only in combination only.
Maybe we should combine it and say work hard and smart, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do both. Yeah, because
that's the key. Yeah.
And it's really interesting to hear that your father, who you told in one of the videos as well, was a sports manager, sports coach kind of thing. Did he also teach you the guitar? And how did your practice routine look like during your teenage years? And is it different to your approaching practicing nowadays? Have there a lot of things changed in that kind of 10, 15 years? Or would you say nowadays you practice the same way like in your teenage years?
Well, I started not being a teen. I was 6 or 7, I think. So, well, I would say that back then I practiced more than now, but kind of, I figured out what works best for me. Plus, right now I spend a lot more time playing pieces, some classical pieces. Only for technique, because back then when I had to work on every single aspect of my technique separately because it wasn't ready yet and I couldn't play it correctly, then I had to work on separate pieces separately. And then I had to, of course, because some parts were easier, some things were harder, and I had to spend different time on that. So if something's bad, I had to work on it more for like 2-3 hours a day, only on one single part of technique. Later, when I turned like 13, maybe 15, I started playing a lot of classical pieces while practicing technique, because already all those parts of technique were practiced and they were done already. When they were down, I basically started playing things like Caprice number 5, because it's such an incredible combination of all string switches, scales, arpeggios, 1 NPS, 2 NPS, and all those little things. And when you just practice it over and over and over again in a certain tempo, you just play almost everything that you have to keep in your hands like a habit. And So I would say that it's different because right now I don't have to work on separate things that much because certainly, yeah, I still do like 1 NPS and string switches and everything like that. I still practice that separately sometimes. But right now I have a lot more sort of musical approach. Sometimes I think of some lick and I play that because I already know the technique and I already have that technique, so I don't have to work. I just have to keep that in my hands, in my muscle memory, so to speak, because it's in the CNS and stuff like that in our brains. But anyways, I still have to work on separate things, but it's different now. So it's a lot more sort of musical, so to speak. So a lot more licks, a lot more classical pieces, a lot more musical stuff. Back then, I only worked with exercises in the beginning, only exercise, and that was one of the hardest issues for a lot of people because in the beginning when they're like, okay, so now I'm gonna play some lick in a few months, so I gotta start learning the caprice or something. You can't because firstly you have to work on a lot of exercise and it will take a lot of time and it's too boring. And if you have fun with guitar in the beginning, well, if you have fun while practicing, then you don't practice.
So the exercise that you did in the beginning, was it more like exercises that also has a musical purpose, like 3-note per string exercises or arpeggios, or was it more like 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of chromatic things and the spider thing and all these kind of things that people teach a lot to beginners?
Well, I would say it was 70 to 30 ratio. I mean, 70% were purely like mathematical things. So you just kind of work with the muscles, with positions, with different combinations, so that your hands would be able to do that. It's like drummers, like Kenny Aronoff, when he in his instructional video, when he just made some crazy combinations for his hands and legs, and it's something that you will most likely never use in real life situation. You will never use that, but it helps you to create that ability in your hands to play different stuff. So, and 30% were like scales, some licks, but again, in the very beginning, we were really trying to understand the foundation, how it works. So basically, I would say more like how it works instead of what you play. So it was all about the movements, the muscle work, the tension balance, and how it all works so that you could get the best sound out of guitar, and at the same time understand the principles behind it. And then, of course, you when you understand that and you build certain foundation for that, you can start playing certain licks and scales and 3-note per string scales and some popular and plus a lot of guitar players I learned back then, like 𝙗𝙗𝙦 Malmsteen and other guitar, they have those 3-note per string scales and stuff like that in their songs. So I started learning certain songs, like Trilogy was basically, I would say, my first song I ever learned, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was the first. Well, of course, I didn't play it in the original tempo. Okay, so I just learned it. And when the foundation was basically down and we understood the process a lot better, of course, not that great like I understand it now, but of course, a lot of things were understood already, and I started learning something harder because, well, my dad, as a sport coach, he always told me one thing, that there are 2 ways to the top, from the beginning in your skill to the greatest level. And one thing is you start from the easiest things, then you take a little harder things, and then the greatest things. Or you can go straight to the greatest and hardest things straight away and practice them slowly, but you already start working with the hardest things right away, and you have a lot more understanding of what your hands will actually have to play in certain time.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, slowly, of course, a lot. Even sometimes you have to even separate your hand and split up your exercise and play the part only with your right hand, without the hand at all, and sometimes only with your left hand and playing it with your right hand, so that you wouldn't concentrate on two hands at the same time and fail, for both hands. So you have to kind of split up and work on each part.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly one way how I do it nowadays a lot, splitting up the hands, focusing on one hand. That's really important. Yeah, it's really interesting because, one of the first songs that I learned in the beginning, definitely not the first song, was, for example, Blitzkrieg by Yngwie. And it sounded like shit. But I believe now to this point that just facing this hard kind of thing, this really difficult music back in the day, as somebody who just played for 1 year or whatnot, helped my brain to understand or to prepare for what's about to come in the future. I always say also, as well, to my students, don't be afraid of hard things. It's just the important is how you approach them, with which kind of practice routine and which kind of point.
Absolutely.
And everything. So that's really interesting. So did you grew up listening to a lot of these kind of shreddy music? Because when you were 6 years old, like 6-7 years old, it must be 2001, 2002, something like that. And YouTube did not exist back in the day. So what was your source of music? Was your father a big fan of this kind of music, or was it like that you somehow discovered Yngwie and then said, okay, I want to play like Yngwie, I want to play like Paul or whatnot?
I would say the first band after which I wanted to play on guitar were AC/DC.
Yeah, cool, awesome, yeah.
So, and still, the funniest thing to me, still the AC/DC is #1 band for me personally, and I really love them. And the funniest thing for a lot of people who start talking to me and ask me questions, well, I don't really like shredding music.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really listen to it. And sometimes people ask me questions about new Paul Gilbert song or new Yngwie song or new shredder from YouTube, and I'm like, what is that? Not because I don't like it, not because I don't like that guitar player. I don't even know what he's doing currently because I'm not listening to it. And well, the technique for me personally was always a lot more about the freedom from my hands. So I wanted to have freedom in my hands to play whatever I like and whatever I want. And I didn't really like progressive music. I didn't really listen to modern guitar players, even those who like, well, I still don't know a single song of Steve Vai.
Oh, okay.
Still,
I'm really a modern guitar player.
Well, if someone asks me like a question about Steve Vai's song, I still don't know them because, well, I listened to a few of his songs. I'm not a fan of his music, okay? So I really respect him as a guitar player, but I'm not just a fan of his music, and it's just part of my kind of musical character, So I'm, and people are like shocked when they hear that because they think that I'm like a shredder who's like crazy on playing like super fast and stuff like that. And I'm not, because basically I like bands like Audioslave, Shinedown, Nickelback sometimes, AC/DC is my favorite band of all time. Metallica, I listen to more like a vocal music, so the rock music, and I don't really like and I would say that if someone thinks that I like all songs of those bands, no, I mean my approach in music is like I listen to certain songs, and unfortunately we guitar players are all like perverts, and we can't already listen to the music and feel it like a normal human being. We always we analyze things. We I heard a Sting's interview once on the radio, and he said that he hates his music. Like he can't even watch his live concerts because he just hates his own songs. And the same thing happens to me when I listen to a lot of music. I want to feel it, and but I just know so much, and I feel, and I analyze everything. I know the chords that a guitar player is playing. I know the strokes that he's doing there. I know why he didn't play that scale because his fingers were not stretched enough. And I like feel all of that. And get so many details in my mind that I simply can't feel it the way that I want to. And sometimes this would be really cool because when we write music, it's much easier to write hits, I guess, if you actually feel the music, not like analyze the music. And sometimes you have to really forget it and just feel what you're playing. And mostly I don't shred. So most of the time when I play guitar, I practice every day. Yeah. So I just I keep that freedom from my hands. And then later I just take my guitar and play riffs, write songs, work with my vocals because I really want to sing and create a band where the vocals and melody lines would be the key, the most important thing, not like shredding, because I think shredding is something that I want to use only in solos, sometimes if it's needed for the music, and is a separate action on stage. So when one guitar player is on stage and everyone else left, and you're there to like show everything what you can do on the instrument, and you can make a show out of that. Because when a shredder just starts like shredding all the time and in each song, 90% of the time, it gets a bit boring, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's my taste is different. And that's great. That's a great thing. Yeah. Okay, coming back to playing guitar, to shredding the guitar, I realized the last couple of days how limited our perception is when it comes to playing guitar or practicing guitar, and how important it is to have certain tools to analyze yourself, like recording yourself, filming yourself, all this kind of stuff. Did you do something like that back in the day when you learned it? I mean, you had your father maybe looking on your playing and then changing some things, or do you do this today as well, that you film yourself maybe in slow motion to really see what's going on, or all of this kind of stuff? Or is your perception nowadays so clear that you don't necessarily need that anymore?
Right now I don't do it. But back in the days, we didn't have slow-mo telephones and cameras like we do now, because right now everyone has that opportunity, and back then we didn't have that. Basically, the mirrors and my dad's control, because he knew how muscles work, how our body works. So he helped me to kind of keep that in control, and plus the mirrors, of course, because most of the time I work by myself, and the mirrors are the great thing to control things, because especially if you can put few mirrors, like one in the front, one to control your forearm position and wrist dance, for instance, then another one to control your string switches and string hopping and stuff like that. So you basically always control a lot of different stuff with the mirrors. So that was basically the only thing. Well, now that would pretty much cost a lot to put few cameras online, and you would see everything on screen, online while playing. But I guess almost nobody does that. So I think the mirrors is the best thing.
Yeah, and
that I had
at a certain point, you remember that feeling on how it felt when you're doing something correctly, and then you don't necessarily need maybe this kind of tool to analyze your playing anymore. But okay, that's an interesting point of view with the mirror. I mean, yeah, back in the day, you didn't have the chance to do this with motion.
Yeah, of course. But firstly, of course, you control yourself with the mirror, and then you stop controlling yourself with that only in some time, even when you're sure that you do everything correctly.
Okay.
Even when you're 100% sure, then it takes you like a few months at least more to be sure that when you forget about it, that it's still there.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing because a lot of people, when they feel confidence and when they feel like they're doing things correctly, and they forget about it for like 5 minutes, and then if they record it themselves, then they find out that, oh my God, I just forgot it, and I lose it. I lose it instantly.
So how important?
So always, I would say, yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, we have a little bit of time delay here, but yeah, sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I just wanted to tell people who are kind of, when they practice, always don't trust your feelings all the time. So of course, it's a big deal to kind of feel what you're doing. And when you see the picture, like from the mirror, and you see what you're playing, when you combine those things with the feeling, because you have to see what you're doing and feel it at the same time, and plus the sense of our body when you feel what you're doing, it's actually a big part of a skill. So remembering those sensations is a big part of creating that skill in your brain. So when you see that and you feel it, always combine those two things: what you're seeing with your eyes, your feelings, and then if you still have pretty much the same feelings, for unexperienced people, when they have the same sensation, it might be a little different. And for unexperienced people, they might forget the sensation if they don't watch it at the same time. So when you get that sensation and you feel like, all right, I'm done, so I can play it, and they just throw the mirror away, and they're like, okay, I can play it now. In 5-10 minutes, in a few days, maybe after taking some rest of 2-3 days, you think that you have the same sensation, but it's not, and you basically ruin everything you've done before again. And then if you continue playing like that for a month, you will lose your technique in that part again, and you will have to re-practice that thing again over like for the next 1-2 months, instead of being careful for 2 weeks. And you would get it a little better, and you would get it in your undermind, and your skill would be still there. And if you don't, you will have to practice for a few months more to get back to the point you started on. So yeah.
It's the same phenomenon like I had for a long time when I was recording licks for Instagram or YouTube or whatnot. I recorded take after take after take. And then I had one take where it finally worked, and I was like, okay, now the lick is done. Now I can play that lick because of one take where it works. But I didn't realize, no, I cannot do it. There was one sentence as well in your video that really got stuck in my head, is try to make music or play stuff that is based on skill and not based on luck. And this is kind of my philosophy nowadays, that I really try to get everything based on skills, and that I can replay it every time when I want, and not based on luck like I've did it in the past, where I finally had one take where it worked and then put it online and everyone is like, yeah, you're the best, and I'm thinking myself like, no, it was just luck.
Yeah, sometimes well, it's a bit better for me now, but in the past I did the same way. I mean, when I recorded some really hard playing, for instance, when I practiced Get Out of My Yard, Paul Gilbert, it was the craziest thing, and I practiced it for like 3-4 months straight only before I could play it in faster tempos with a luck, because the percentage of fails was too high, like 50%, 70%, and it's still not good. Until it's 99.9%, it's not good. So just slow down again and practice it again, and until you really hit that habit, and it's there in your brains and you can't lose it.
Yeah, totally. So I believe we're on the same page when I say that we believe in the universal guitar technique, because this kind of universal technique, it existed in violin, in piano, in all these other instruments. Why shouldn't it also be there in guitar playing? And as an educator, we're also on the search for it. But However, every person is different in terms of anatomy, and at which points would you say, or which kind of movements and techniques are universal for you, and at what point do individual anatomical characteristics starts come into play and might need to be considered?
Well, it certainly depends on a human being, but I would say, in my experience from like hundreds of people that I saw personally, it has a lot to do with the habits that certain person created before. And not only guitar habits, and because sometimes people write with the pen with certain grip, like, and they write a lot in their lives, and this grip seems more comfortable for them, right? But and they have certain tensions in certain areas because of habits from their life. Maybe they work on some work where they have to tense certain parts of their hands. Doesn't matter. So I think it has a lot to do with the habits. Anatomically, I wouldn't say that people are that different, honestly. So from the anatomical point of view and physiological, well, physiology of muscle tissue is a bit different. Yes, some people have more F motor units, some people have more S motor units, and that's true, yes. But in terms of anatomy, like where the muscle is connected to the bone, or and all this stuff is pretty much the same. And the good thing for guitar playing is that different sizes of our hands, because some people have a little smaller size of their hands, some people's hands are bigger, it doesn't really matter that much. And I had a lot of people who thought that my hands are big and bigger than theirs, and then they took the VIP lesson one-on-one, and we found out that their hands actually bigger than mine. So yeah, and a lot of people think like that, maybe because of my stretch, and they think that if I'm stretching my fingers that way, well, it has a lot to do with the position of your hand. So it has a lot to do with the technique, and depends on the fingers. And stretching the fingers that way is not about, I would say it's not about physiology or anatomy that much, not that much how people think. And so I would say the level of 𝙤𝙤𝙦𝗎 is basically possible for 99% of guitar players. Mm-hmm. And because he's not that shredder like Guthrie Govan or Paul Gilbert, he's not that fast, but he's still amazing guitar playing. And for me personally, I would say that his level of guitar playing is basically what I would consider as a satisfactory for myself. So if I would play like him, I would definitely be able to feel free to play any music that I like, any songs that I like, even solos, even hard solos, extremely hard solos. But that level is mostly possible for most people out there. So, but of course, in case that your character is, fits the practicing routine, because it's hard, and if you can be concentrated a lot of time, if you can work hard, if you can work smart, and if you can combine all those things together, and if you can work for a certain amount of time per day, not like 15-20 minutes, of course, that's not enough to practice every single aspect of your technique. So, but if you can do that, and you spend certain years on that, making things smart, you can achieve level of 𝙤𝙤𝙦𝗎, most likely, yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So I have a few questions from my community that I ask, like, hey, I'm going to have Anton on my channel. Who do you have something that you want to ask him? And there are some questions that I think were quite interesting. And the first one is actually from a good YouTube friend of mine who's a German YouTuber, and he has a question regarding of one of your recent videos in which you are describing that the classical hand position for the left hand is not the best because of certain matters of strength, etc. Really interesting video, really worth to watch. But he was asking, isn't that a matter of training? If when you're holding your hand like this, you have enough force, and compared to this, that it's just a matter of habits and training and all this kind of stuff?
Well, it's pretty big question, I would say, because there are a lot of things to talk about here. First off, my strings are pretty high. I mean, I use pretty high action, and because I like better sustain, it kind of helps me to be able to play on acoustic guitar whenever I want, and plus I play on acoustic guitar. And a lot of people who play on acoustic guitar, for instance, and I like to play on acoustic guitar, and I want to play solos and songs on acoustic guitar. It's harder to play on acoustic guitar, and to play everything on that. A lot of people who play on acoustic guitar, they don't play hammer-ons and pull-offs, and they're weaker. And whenever you start playing faster, well, you start missing certain notes. There are dips in dynamics and stuff like that. So my philosophy was always to be able to take almost any guitar out there and be able to play whatever I want on it. So and to play with higher action or on acoustic guitar in higher tempos with hammer-ons and pull-offs, you won't be able to do all the work with the muscles, lumbricalis from your those little muscles. Well, it's not like you can train them, of course, and you can build them and even grow them if you want, but well, they are basically initially a lot weaker, like a lot weaker. And the thing is, a lot of people were confused from that video, and maybe that's my mistake because I didn't mention that much. Well, I actually mentioned that, but they were like concentrated on the positions they saw me playing, and they thought that the words that I said are not that important. So basically, the position that I use is not blues position. So it's not classical one. It's not blues position. It's I build my position from the physiological point of view. So my philosophy of my position on my left hand is to use the muscles from our forearm as much as possible. Because, for instance, if your guitar is high on the belt, in this position, you will be able to use that amount of forearm muscles. When you put your guitar lower, you will be able to use different amount of those muscles. I mean, in ratio. And, depending on position, your position will slightly change. And even depending on what you play in certain place in the song. So if you stretch your fingers more, the ratio of how much you use the muscles of forearm and the wrist muscles will be different. And my philosophy is to use to put my hand in the position where I can use the forearm muscles as much as possible. So it's different sometimes, and people sometimes think that, well, in that position you use classical one, like, yeah, because sometimes you have to change things, but the thing is that you just have to think about it, and when you practice different stuff, you just have to choose the position that allows you to engage the forearm muscles more, instead of the one where you just lower your thumb and start playing only with your wrist muscles. So I just want to play on acoustic guitar, on any guitar that I have currently, with higher action, lower action, doesn't matter. I just want to be able to have more stamina, endurance, strength, and be able to play in any tempo with that. So basically, that's my philosophy.
That was pretty mind-blowing. That was interesting, yeah. Okay, next question that I have is economy picking or alternate picking. What do you prefer?
Alternate picking. But it depends. Well, I would say, for me personally, well, since I don't really have any pieces that I can't play with alternate picking for my music, maybe there are certain things that I can't play because it's just crazy, but probably the alternate picking just allows me to have more attack control, because it's just my preference. I like faster attack that has a little more clarity, I would say, when you play faster. And I love that clarity, especially when you drive the pick more to pick the strings harder. And I love that clarity when you pick like fast scale runs, fully alternate picking, and it gives me the sound that I want. So if someone wants economy picking, well, you can do whatever you want, and there's nothing bad in that.
So another question is a question that I personally absolutely hate. That's why I put them here into it. And that's the question, which lick is good for hand synchronization? And before you answer, I want to give a little bit of my opinion, a hot take on this question, because I personally believe that you can work on your hand synchronization with every lick. It's not a matter of what kind of lick you should use. It's a matter of how you practice them. And like you said at the beginning, for me, I believe that hand synchronization problems comes from that one hand is lacking, and the perfect way to train it is to train hands individually, you know? What is your opinion on this kind of, or do you have a lick, like a God's given lick that will solve all the hand synchronization problems?
Well, that would be so awesome if certain lick would fix the synchronization problem, but there is no lick like that, unfortunately. And I would say it has a lot to do with well, how you play, because a lot of people in the beginning, especially in the beginning when they practice, they use different motions all the time. Like, for instance, they play the scale and their finger is flying like 2 centimeters away from the neck. Firstly, on another string it's 4 centimeters, on another string it's 3 centimeters, and there's no consistent motion that you use for playing certain stuff. And if the motions are different all the time, each time you play on the guitar, your brains will be blown up from that amount of information, moves that you do, and you have to firstly build your foundation of technique so much that you're doing things the same way each time, so that the simpler this movement is, the simpler, the less difference in the motions that you use there is, then it will be easier for your brains to synchronize your both hands, because they know that, because if you use different motions each time, how can because for instance, imagine that this is the point on the timeline right here, where you have to play a note with both of your hands, right? And if you, for instance, for the right hand, the movement is a little smaller than for the left hand. For instance, when we play a note with the pinky finger and we press the note, well, it hits the string from like 3-4 centimeters. And the movement for the right hand is smaller. And so on that timeline, the movement for the right hand begins somewhere right here, so that you can pass that distance and play the note. For the left hand, the movement starts somewhere here. And imagine if you're playing that, and if you're playing that for some time, your brains will learn to synchronize your movements, because it knows that you start your right hand movement right here and your left hand's movement right here. But if that movement is, if your pinky finger is higher this time, no one knows why, then it won't be able to hit the string in this moment if it needs this much time. So if you don't know that, your brains will start that motion that had to happen like 25 milliseconds before this moment. It will start this motion 25 milliseconds before playing the note, and where your finger will be in the moment of playing the note, right here. And then you get the synchronization. And a lot of stuff like that happen when you play, and it's a matter of how you practice. That's why the technical point of view here is the most important. And plus, well, there are lots of regarding the exercise. I would say the exercise is about how you engage that information on how the brains work and how that skill works. And the exercise, well, there's certain exercise with tempo and the click that we can use to practice synchronization in order to create even harder, so to speak, situation for our brains to calculate all of that, so that it would train our brains to do that. But well, I take money for that, so I won't tell it here.
All
Anyway,
right.
sorry for not answering that in that much detail, but I hope that even understanding that there's no lick and it's all about how consistent your technique is. I would say that it's already like 85-90% of the synchronization. So if you have synchronization issues, just try to make your movements more consistent and your technique better and overall better, like in all terms, like amplitude of the motions, how clean you play, how consistent you're muting the wrong strings, and how your hands are moving. And if you build it, you will get a lot better results in synchronization, like instantly.
Okay. But now you've got me hooked. Where can I get more from you? When I want to learn more from you, where's your page, or what do you offer for people that now, after seeing this, want to learn more from you?
Well, in my guitar academy, in my online guitar academy. So if you want to join it, guys, just send me a message in Telegram or Gmail. There's information on my YouTube channel. There's a link to my website, so you can join it. And there's like a lot of lectures on how it all works. And if someone wants to, so just let me know.
And is it also possible to get one-on-one lessons with you?
Well, because of vocals, and I spend a lot of time working with different stuff right now and writing music and even 3D modeling, because I have to plan my shows and stuff like that. Well, I just work a lot these days with a lot of different stuff that I will have to use for my shows and band. Well, I do the one-on-one lessons sometimes, but pretty rarely, and they're not cheap.
Okay, all right, good. That's good to know. But God damn it, because I'm hooked. I want one.
All right, thanks. Just let me know, and I'll be there for you.
So, what are your goals? There's a final question for the next 5 years. What can we expect in the future, Anton OPARIN? You already mentioned songs, music you're working on. Let us know a little bit more about that.
Well, basically, right now, everything got stuck because of my vocals. Because singing is another profession, and it's not about talent. Yeah, so I can tell that for sure right now. And after like tons of information that I've found out after that point when I decided to become a vocalist, well, right after I'm able to sing things that I want to sing, I will probably, well, by the way, I won't teach vocals because it will be just a waste of time, because I'll have to spend all my free time on writing music, planning my shows, and planning the show itself. I mean, the design of it and the songs of it, yeah, everything. And then I'll just finally have the opportunity to record my vocals and see how my idea, because well, I record a lot of different songs and ideas, but I don't post them because they're for vocals. But when I get my vocals ready, I will be able to sing and try to get the melody right for that song, and like check it how it would actually sound like with vocals, because right now I can hear the song but I can't hear it with the voice, because and then I'll have to rearrange certain stuff in my songs, in all those ideas, to kind of make them sound best with my voice. And so basically it's songwriting, touring, maybe not touring, but making the shows in the biggest cities. Of course, I want to travel sometimes, to the places where my friends live. And I guess that everything of that will be on YouTube, because I will post that, even if it's a live show, I will post it on my YouTube channel, and everyone all around the world will be able to see it. So I guess that's my, sort of plan.
Awesome. Great, Anton. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here. It was extremely mind blown as usual. God damn it! Now I have to grab one of these real quickly and process everything that we talked about in this video. Thank you so much for this, and I can't wait for songs and the music of Anton OPARIN in the future.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me. I guess there'll be at least 300 views on my person, because I'm not famous yet. So anyways, thank you so much for inviting me to your channel. And anyways, and plus, I wanted to say thanks to every person who would see this interview. And I hope that some information we've talked about and we've discussed here would help you to become better in whatever you do. So, and all the viewers out there, check out Anton OPARIN's YouTube channel, check out Anton OPARIN's social media and his Guitar and Master Academy. There's a link in the description box which leads you right to his page. There you will get more information. So much about that. I wish you a lot of fun practicing, learning, and mastering the guitar, and see you soon. Bye bye.